cut it. I'll just cut everything that doesn't make sense. It's going to be a 5-minute podcast. Like
literally. Hello, I am Momo. My real name is Alexis. Momo is a nickname from the military because, of course, everybody hears my first name and they're like, Alexis and Momo, how's that related? Well, that's where it's from. It's from my last name. So, yeah, everybody has called me that since I joined almost 10 years ago. So, yeah, that's probably like half of my personality. I am the content creator. I don't know what that terminology is for Momo's book show, which is how we all got here today. I also have a TikTok sort of and a YouTube sort of, still figuring that out. I grew up in Indiana, went to Purdue, joined the Army, got a job in Georgia, and that's where I live now.
All right, I'm Rylee. I run Rylee Tries Hobbies on Instagram, but I'm like really bad at trying hobbies, so I have like 2 things on there. I grew up at the Jersey Shore, but I've also lived in Indiana. I went to Purdue with these 2 people. I've also lived in Texas, DC, Missouri, but like definitely not the fun part of Missouri, like the middle of nowhere, Missouri. It was horrible. Do not recommend. And now in Georgia. I was also in the military. That's why I moved around so much. And soon we're moving to Hawaii, so that's super lit. I'm not very exciting, so that's about it. Oh, and I have 2 cats named Susie and Gus, and a dog named Ham, and they also have an Instagram, and it's pretty cool.
Man, if we're kicking this off with all the Instagram accounts we run, I have my own, which is Alysha's Instagram. Hi, I'm Alysha. And then my cat also has an Instagram that I update about never. So, you'll all be really excited to hear that I am managing the content on the Instagram for this podcast. So you won't get bombarded if I end up being the sole content creator there. But I also now live in Georgia, like all of these lovely co-hosts, and I'm here working at a university. And yeah, so my main job is doing research. So I just read all the time, sometimes for fun, sometimes not for fun.
Gross.
It's a great time. I mean, we have other hobbies, don't we?
Yeah. So I'm married, so I hang out with him a lot. That guy.
Your hobby is I'm married.
I mean, I have more than that, obviously. Yeah, I play a lot of video games. I have a dog named Maui and a cat named Elmo. I like to travel. I have to work out. Sometimes I enjoy it, sometimes I don't. I play a lot of Pokemon Go, and it's with Alysha. Yeah, and then just hanging out with friends and going new places to eat and travel and all that kind of stuff. Pretty generic, nothing special.
Easy transition there is that I am also forced to work out sometimes. I usually don't enjoy it, but I do Pilates, and I do enjoy that one, so that's good. I also very much enjoy bird watching, which is my nerdy hobby. You guys have Pokemon Go. I have bird watching, which is real life Pokemon Go, essentially. Super fun. Highly recommend. I also really like to cook and binge watching TV and movies and hanging out with my animals. And I also like hanging out with my husband, Alexis, so that's pretty cool. Other than that, I'm supposed to be trying hobbies, and I'm like too content with sitting on my couch and reading a book or not doing anything. So that's where I'm at in life.
I also have a closet that I like to call my closet where my hobbies go to die. So my tennis rackets are in there, and my roller skates are in there, and my backpacking gear is in there. But I do have other hobbies that I have kept up with. Alexis said I play a lot of Pokemon Go. I like going to concerts. I've been to a couple this summer, going to a couple more this fall. I like Rylee. I enjoy a good TV show binge. I'm currently working on Ted Lasso. Yes, I am behind. I absolutely hate waiting week to week to watch a show, so I wait until they're all out, but then I forget about them. So it's a bit of a struggle. And I really enjoy hiking. So been figuring out what that means now that I'm on the East Coast instead of the West Coast. The mountains look a little different out here. The other thing I have in my notes is Taylor Swift considered a hobby? I'm gonna take a poll between you two.
Yes, it's obviously a hobby. We don't have
The
much
answer,
personalities here, so other than books and Taylor Swift.
the answer is yes.
Okay, yeah. Well, another
100%.
hobby of mine is Taylor Swift. And then another contentious hobby I have is hammocking. I feel like that should be considered a hobby, but maybe the hobby is napping. I don't know. But I don't nap unless I'm in a hammock, so I feel like the hobby's hammocking.
I'll give it to you.
Same.
So now that's a little bit about all of us. So yeah, the story of how we all ended up.
Yeah, so me and Alysha decided that we were going to live together at Purdue via Facebook group back in 2013. We lived together all through college, except for her graduate year and my super senior semester. Alexis is that I think we met technically our freshman year, but we ended up knowing each other more so through ROTC at Purdue. So, and then you guys can talk about how you guys are now friends.
Oh, I
Alysha slid into my
DMs. Yeah, Rylee was just like, yo, I have a friend in Athens. And I was like, cool, who is it? And then she sent me an Instagram post that she had screenshotted that Alexis had geotagged Athens. And so I go, hey, I'm Alysha and we have a mutual acquaintance. We should be friends. And Alexis took that as a great message, and Rylee took that as an offending message, and it all worked out in the end.
And the rest is history.
It was also funny though, because at that point, me and Alexis haven't actually talked other than liking each other's like Instagram things for like 3 or 4 years. So
I mean, that's all relationships are in this digital age.
And you're active duty, and I wasn't. So like that's how I've kept up with probably several people from our program that like we've all lived in different states since graduating. I feel like that's normal.
agreed.
So yeah, shout out to Rylee for inadvertently bringing us all together, and then shout out to Alexis for being the spearheading figure of this podcast. So yeah, we're all here because we like to read, or we like to listen to other people read out loud. There's a lot of different ways you can consume books. So I think we should kick it off by just talking about, I don't know, why do you like reading? How'd you get here?
I didn't learn how to read till I was in first grade. But once I figured it out, I just never really stopped. My grandma and my dad were like super big readers. Their collection of books is pretty large, and I think I just kind of the apple didn't fall far from the tree from those two. So I always got in trouble in school for reading in class because I was bored. Or I was talking. I mean, neither of those are surprising. I run a bookstagram and now I'm on a podcast. So, but I even like wrote books for a little while too. I still have the binder with them all. I'm not at my house right now, but if I did, I will gladly pull those out during one of these bad boys. And they're corny. Like 14-year-old me, she was on point, but you could tell a 14-year-old wrote it. That's for sure. I read all throughout high school, obviously, during like your big series like Harry Potter, Twilight, Divergent, Hunger Games, all that kind of stuff. When I got to college, I'm a communications major, so I was writing papers and I was reading books and doing a lot of communication theory stuff. So plus like with RTC and working, I was just exhausted. So it slowed down a lot when I was in school, but I really, really wanted to get back into reading. My goal for reading literally was like one book in 2022. By the end of 2022, after starting my bookstagram, I got up to 25 books. So I have to say I'm pretty proud of myself for that. But my goal is 50 this year, and I'm at 30 right now. So yeah, I read mine all over my Kindle or actual hard copies. I've only listened to one audiobook, and I'm not even finished with it yet, probably because I've already read the book. But I have a really long drive to and from South Georgia for drill, so once a month. So I throw that on there if I'm really tired and I need something to hype me up because it's fourth wing.
So I actually really love audiobooks. But besides that, how I got into reading, very similar to Alexis, little Rylee could not read at all. I was not good at it. Also couldn't do math, but that's a story for a different podcast, I guess. But basically, I couldn't read a real chapter book until like probably third grade. So all the nerds like Alysha who were sitting at like the picnic tables and recess reading Harry Potter, I was like really jealous of them because I could not read. Anyway, but I really wanted a freaking American Girl doll so bad, specifically Josefina. She was a G. Anyway, so my mom made a deal with me that if I read all the books, then I could get the doll. And bribery works, friends, because I figured out how to read in like a matter of weeks, and I got that doll before Christmas. It was awesome. And then from there, I was like, well, if I read more books, then I get more dolls, right? So that started that, ended up with 5 American Girl doll books, and then just kept reading from there until through middle school, through high school. Same as Alexis, I basically stopped reading during college. Excuse me. But yeah, in college, being a building construction management major, I didn't have to read much. And then I also worked and just didn't read. And then when I was active duty, I didn't have a life, so I didn't read then either. And then I left active duty, started following Alexis's Bookstagram, and was like, I should really read again. So thanks, Alexis. You inspired me. And now I've read like 15 books this year, and I don't think I read one last year. But also, I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I drive a lot. I go up to New Jersey for Joel every month, so that gives me a lot of time to read. Well, listen. And then I also put them on when I'm like doing housework or like cooking or really don't want to fold laundry because it's the only thing that will make me do it. Or when I run, I do that too sometimes. Oh, and I use a Kindle. I don't believe in hardcover books. They drive me absolutely nuts. Paperback books, if I do use them, I'm like a menace to society and dog ear and like break this bind, and nobody likes me. So I use my Kindle so other people don't have to use my books afterwards and be like, what did she do to these things?
So I don't have a tragic reading backstory.
Yeah, you were a smart one.
I was the little nerd that they kicked out of the classroom to go read her chapter books in the hallway while they tried to teach other children how to string sentences together. So, safe to say, I set my elementary school accelerated reader record. Full disclaimer, I mostly still hold that record because my elementary school went out of business, but still a claim to fame. I think the funnest little reading story I have related to that. So that was like around 1100, 1200 AR points. And so in 7th grade, I decided to have no life and be a really cool child. And I was like, I wonder if I can score the same number of points in 1 year that I did for my elementary school record. And I could not. I did come very close. I capped out around 1,000 points, and I think Gone with the Wind was my last like hoorah of trying to reach it. It was worth 72 points. I'm like, this is going to take out a real chunk, but we didn't get there. I stopped reading after high school. College is demanding. I was trying to get that engineering degree, and I didn't read during grad school either because I was already reading so much for grad school that I was like, I don't want to read more in my free time. And so I just started picking up reading again about halfway through last year, around the time that I got my new job. I was like, okay, I need a hobby for myself, something that's calming, relaxing, you can do anywhere. Perfect, reading. I primarily read physical books and books on Libby, which is a library app. So I get all my books from either the public library or the great library of Alexis. And I try not to buy books because, there's an aesthetic I want to keep up in my house, and not all the books are going to match that aesthetic. I literally just bought the Lord of the Rings series and the Hobbit dust covers because they're so pretty, and I have failed to read these books numerous times.
Yeah, you highly value aesthetics. That's okay. I support it.
I introduced myself as a basic bitch, and I still don't know if I'm going to include that in the intro, but everything's really just aligning here. So I'm going to put forward that, yes, I would rather buy books for aesthetics than that I enjoyed reading them if they're going to sit in my house. Yep.
All I know is you said accelerated reading program, and that unlocked so many memories in the back of my brain. I forgot that was a thing. And you got prizes from it. Like, I forgot.
Yeah. I got to be principal for a day as one of them.
Oh my god. Such
I
a
think I
nerd.
blacked that out because of the trauma of not being able to read, you know.
Drama.
Pretty much.
I'm an engineer because of the accelerated reader program. So yeah, we all like reading books. So Alexis, what type of books do you like reading?
I do happen to like generic books, like romance, naturally. But also, I do also enjoy like fantasy books, science fiction, historical fiction. Honestly, I really love dystopian like era books. I don't know if it's just like the possibility that with the way the world's going, we're like along the lines of that. One of my favorite books of all time also happens to be a dystopian era book, and that's Delirium by Lauren Oliver. Literally, I tell everybody about this book. Was so good. Chef's kiss. You should go read it. And then of course, like your normal big series like Harry Potter and Twilight and stuff. If you liked those, you should also read the Vampire Academy series. It was a brief indie movie, I think. It might be a show now, but it's a really good series and you should read it.
I do mostly read fiction, I think like all of us do. But in general, I like low stakes, slice of life, some fantasy, some romance, things that are like I can really disassociate from and aren't real because otherwise I get really stressed out. I also, so like growing up, I was the family, so watching Jeopardy and like Wheel of Fortune. We watched Entertainment Tonight and TMZ. So like anything that has like celebrity news vibes, super into. So basically any Taylor Jenkins Reid book, Crazy Rich Asians, really into that. For audiobooks, I obviously listen to those a lot, but I like ones with a full cast. So like Daisy Jones and the Six had a full cast, like each person had a different narrator, which I thought was super cool. So I've read a few that has had different narrators, and in general, I really like that because it's more like I'm listening to a TV show or a movie, and I find that more entertaining. But anyway, yeah, that's mostly what I read. My favorite book, I don't know. I haven't read in a few years, so like my favorite one growing up was definitely The Book Thief. I think that's the only book that I've reread ever. So, yep, that's about me. What about you, Alysha?
So I used to read like a lot of like slice of life. Like this is just somebody's life. We're creeping in on it through this book. And then read a lot of mystery novels. Like way back in the day, I think I worked through like almost all of Agatha Christie's catalog. I really like books. I think Rylee brought up a good point. I didn't realize, but I love books that have like the multiple perspective, a bunch of like subplots going on with like the major plot, lots of world building. Like I really like that space, and I feel like you find that more in fantasy and sci-fi novels. So, if I had to say like my favorite book, I'm also going to throw it back to like it's a book that I feel like I've never heard anybody else ever say the title of ever. She wrote a lot of like fantasy, and she had vampire series, but it was before the big Twilight craze. So she kind of like missed out on like cashing in. But Amelia Atwater Rhodes has a book called Hawk Song, and it's pretty much a fantasy twist on Romeo and Juliet. There's these shapeshifters and these rival clans. The one shapeshifts into hawks, the other one into snakes, and they basically like gotta get married to help build the bridge of the clans, but the families like hate each other. So there's like this drama, but it's like a really short, cute book, and it's got really good world building. Like the plot of it is slow, it's emotional, I like it, but there's nothing dramatic happening at any point. But she just like makes this really cool little universe that was really just nice to be a part of. My favorite like series right I don't even know if you can say right now because it's been like 10 years since the last book, but one day we'll get the end of the Game of Thrones series. And by end, I mean, we still got multiple books to go, but a girl can dream.
You can dream, Alysha.
Thank you. So yeah, maybe this spins us into like some directions we see this podcast going in. So we're just here to have a good time. We're here to talk about things we're reading, what we think about them, what we think about how the narrators sound on the audiobooks. Just, dive into the worlds we're reading about. I don't know. Did we like it? Did we not like it? What's going on? Do we got thoughts that we just need to get off our mind?
Segue into idea number one, a whole episode dedicated to Fourth Wing.
The number one fangirl for Fourth Wing. So that's going to be our first topic. So yeah, sometimes we'll just pick a book. Sometimes maybe we'll pick a theme. I don't know. I wanted to throw out there like maybe we do celebrity suggested books or something. We took other suggestions from our followers.
Yeah, so our followers had a few suggestions. Basically, some of them were about like comparing books and their like entertainment adaptations. So like whether it was like a movie series and just kind of like maybe the differences and similarities and what we maybe liked about it versus not liked.
Yeah, basically our other recommendations were just, try a lot of different genres of books.
One of the other things we want to do is like I can listen to the audiobook while they actually read the book and see how like that like changes your perspective on it, just because sometimes it does.
I also think we should do like what's one of the worst books we've ever read.
I got
a
one.
couple of those. Yeah.
Oddly enough, my brain went to the best fanfic I've ever read, so I feel like we
Yeah.
should do the reverse version of that too. We have a ton of different ideas for this podcast. We're really excited to be kicking it off here today. If you are engaged with this type of content, you can follow us on Instagram. We are literarily, which
literarily
only Rylee can pronounce the title of this podcast.
So literarily. Literarily.
Literarily.
You got it.
If you have any ideas or suggestions, feel free to add them to our most recent post or send us a DM if you would like it to be a private suggestion. That is completely fine. You will be able to find this podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts, but if you want to come back and listen to a podcast after a couple months, you're going to notice it is no longer on that platform. And that is because we are cheap and we are making sure we like this hobby before it goes to die in our closet full of dead hobbies. You'll have to go to YouTube, which is the exact same username, literarily.
Good job, Alysha!
Thank you. Got one in. To find our older podcasts. But other than that, we would love to stay in contact with you guys via Insta. And if you want to keep up with what we're reading, you'll be able to follow Rylee and Alexis's Goodreads, which will be in the description below. And since I'm a cranky old person, I only keep track of my reads on a literal Apple Notes note. So you'll just have to hear my updates on this podcast. To sign off of our pod, what's everybody reading right now?
I'm here and I'm ready.
Pulls out Fourth Wing.
I'm reading A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. I hated ACOTAR, the first one. They got better. Alysha was right. I'm taking it very slow on purpose. That's the end of my spiel. That speaks for itself.
I'm in the same universe reading The Assassin's Blade, which I am reading after The Heir of Fire. I decided to read it fourth.
I'm actually reading Our Missing Hearts by Celeste Ng. And then I am listening to Rich People Problems, which is number 3 in Crazy Rich Asian series by Kevin Kwan.
Yeah, go ahead and let us know what you're reading in the comments of our Instagram post announcing this podcast. So thank you, everybody, for listening.
Literally.
I definitely messed it up.
Do I even know words? We'll pull the Nick Miller.
I just memorized a lot of words.